If you voted for Donald Trump in 2016 but won't in 2020, what changed your mind? His general response to COVID and sicking federal troops on his own people. What really hit home about Trump's reaction to the pandemic was finding out that his granddad died due to the 1918 Spanish flu. Like, this literally happened to a family member, and yet he still acts like it's nothing. Weird. One of my friends in high school voted for Trump during our second year of college. He grew up in a conservative household, was brainwashed, and really wanted a Republican core even though he knew Trump was a moron. Then he switched about 2 years later to being totally Democratic. To quote him, he said, "I looked up every issue I cared about and all the facts behind it, and I realized that Republicans weren't on the right side of any arguments." 2016, he ain't Hillary. 2020, he ain't saying. See, in the left side of Trump's brain, there's nothing right. In the right side of Trump's brain, there's nothing left. Among many other things, the turning point for me was the Ukraine quid pro quo situation and the related cover-up. Because I was an idiot in 2016. I'm fairly conservative and Trump has done stuff that I agree with, but a few things have happened over the last 7 to 10 months that made me change my mind. His treatment of being impeached, treatment of the pandemic, his unprofessional online presence. I do understand that the online presence wasn't good the whole time, but I stopped giving it the pass. And I realized that I am willing to pay more in taxes if it means more people will have life-saving healthcare and places to live. Many of my friends are still very conservative, and just the sheer lack of caring for people in need is crazy to me. I didn't agree with many of Obama's policies, but I sure miss his professionalism. To last for years. More specifically, backing out of the Paris Agreement, taunting Iran, acting as if Corona doesn't exist, then failing to do something once it can't be ignored, trying to turn this country into a dictatorship by force, blatantly ignoring the Constitution and citizens' rights on multiple occasions, with the right to assembly only being the most recent example. His childish disposition, his fat fucking face. I'll be voting for Biden after voting for Trump in 2016. His politicalization, the pandemic and poor response to it are the main reason for the change. I also strongly dislike the way he deals with Russia and the cronyism amongst his cabinet. I didn't agree with everything George Bush or Obama did it stood for, but I believe they were trying to improve the country in the best way they saw how. Trump seems to be only selfishly motivated and has made a mockery of our nation's highest elected office. I am not proud to live in this country as long as he is at its helm. I look forward to November 3rd. I was 21 and was tired of nothing but career politician after career politician becoming president. I truly believed that if Trump, someone without political experience, could become president, it would open the door for us to be more accepting of non-career politicians becoming president. I always believed that anyone could be president, and I always felt that someone further from the time-wasting BS that normally clogs politics would be more representative of the common American citizen. How TF I thought Cheeto Bunker Bo was representative of the American people. IDK. But now I realize that it's people like Oak who can truly understand what it's like to be a normal person and can still exist in the political landscape. She's my new hero. I was disappointed with a few things that he did here and there, but I wasn't that aware of the scope of some things, so it didn't seem so bad. Then COVID happened. He didn't wear a mask until recently, and suddenly many of his supporters became anti-maskers. Instead of leading by wearing a mask and encouraging people to wear a mask, he continued to not want anyone to wear a mask at events. Then he started encouraging bad treatment of protesters. I literally went from a lifelong Republican to a Democrat within months. It kind of freaks me out that I changed so quickly, but I realize that they've been using brute force to do what you think is right despite what's morally right, or what the country wants is just plain wrong. I am less worried about my taxes going up a little if it means preventing a child dying from malnutrition. I am less concerned about making sure there's no welfare fraud if it helps people that truly need it. DTW, I was always socially liberal. I just felt like most social issues didn't belong in politics. I've always wanted prison reform, equal rights for everyone, but I'm realizing most Republican politicians do not want those things. I feel like my eyes have been opened and I literally used to think liberals were oblivious to taxes going up. I was wrong. I couldn't vote in 2016, but I would have voted for Trump. I will be voting for Biden this year, pulling out and leaving the Kurds to be massacred, never listening to military advisors, committing treason, grossly mishandling a global health crisis at the national level, tear-gassing his own people to take a picture with a Bible he definitely doesn't read. Some things are more important than lower taxes. Everything. I just couldn't pull the lever for Hillary, but I never thought Trump would be this bad. Gave away national park land, strip EPA restrictions, Mercury for God's sake. Racist comments. And when did it become okay for name-calling? Sleepy Joe and Crazy Nancy. He threw a piece of candy at Angela Merkel and hung up a phone call with the Australian PM. He's really given America a black eye. A bully that needs to go. Grew up in middle of nowhere conservative town. Took what my parents and others said as fact and adopted their political views. I never did my own research on politics. Since then I've met amazing people who've helped me see things from a different perspective. Now I see the issues with what I believed before. Happy to say that I do much more research and don't just go in the voting booth blind. I'm now pretty far from conservative. I voted and then went to the grocery store with a couple of my younger children. There was a very nice young Hispanic kid working and he helped me put stuff in my car so he could collect my buggy. He noticed my voted sticker on my child, then asked me who I voted for. I was instantly hesitant to answer truthfully and I realized I felt shame. After Trump actually won, I said, how much damage can one man really do? That 24 hours has haunted me the last 3 years. And now I'm self-quarantining my family since March 15, 20 and I've had too much time to think about what a colossal mistake he was. And voting Republican BC, the ones in office now are all a death cult. It's been eye-opening. I've told my family if I get COVID-19 and died, they have to put on my tombstone, I died BC. I voted for Trump in 2016. When he appointed a Goldman executive as treasurer. Drain the what? All downhill from there. A lot of people forget that the presidential election isn't just for the candidate themselves. You're also voting for 15 cabinet members, only one of which is actually announced before election day. Factoring in the candidate's political connections is all too often left out of the discussion. Edit. I can't. A coal lobbyist runs the EPA. A pharma exec runs HHS. An oil lobbyist runs the DOI. A Raytheon lobbyist runs DOD. A Verizon lawyer runs FCC. A Goldman Sachs exec runs Treasury. This whole country is falling prey to corporate regulatory capture. Lived in New York, which was always going to go to Hillary, who I hated for screwing over Bernie, so I figure I'd protest vote and go for Trump just out of spite. I really didn't believe he had a chance, honestly. Boy, do I regret my decision. I didn't vote for him, but I realized the US really dumped up when he threw paper towels, a speech in Puerto Rico after it was devastated, and no one had power and thousands were still missing. I will never forget that. He literally thought he was a hero for throwing out power towels. He has failed all across the board. From education to foreign policy, he has done absolutely nothing but cripple the systems that people rely on in this country. Friend with an immigrant wife did everything right 6 months in advance, and yet her visa paperwork wasn't completed before it ran out. He lets our Kurdish allies die and is a horrible person. I regret voting for this despicable human and his corrupted administration that has made us a shithole country. I knew very little about politics and believed the whole system to be a corrupt pile of dogshit. With how stupid and crazy he seemed, I had hoped he would do such a terrible job it would shock people into wanting to do something about the system if people like him could be elected. Unfortunately, he performed beyond my expectations and my plan backfired tremendously, fucking over or killing a lot of people. I don't hold myself completely responsible for the fallout of his actions, but I do recognize my hand in it. I didn't realize the extent of shit he could be allowed to get away with. 42 years old. I never voted for anybody because I grew up believing it didn't matter who got elected. They were all just different brand names for the same bullshit. I will be voting this time because I see now that it can matter who's in that office. I was barely 18 when I voted. I was still a senior in high school. I grew up in an extremely conservative town with opinionated parents and a lack of access to the outside world. I wasn't allowed on any social media. Then I went to college and met people of other races, creeds, sexualities, and I learned empathy. I regret my choice, and I know that the Trump administration has caused a lot of pain and suffering for a lot of people. I am trying to do my part by educating myself and calling people out on their bullshit whenever I'm in my hometown. I didn't vote, but my dad did. He said that all presidents need to have a straight mind, strong and bold. Then when riots happened, he learned that Donald Trump wasn't the strong, bold leader he thought of. He hid in his bunker not because people were gonna raid the White House. He was just scared. He couldn't give a damn about the people asking for change. Instead of actually reforming corrupt police, he just hid, walled the White House so no one could go near it. Hello, I'm English and don't have a vote in this, and believe me, we have enough problems of our own over here, but I pay a lot of attention to American politics. It's in the news a lot here at the moment just because of how batshit crazy Trump is. Anyway, I saw a headline the other day that said officials in China were secretly hoping Trump was going to get re-elected because he destabilizes the USA so much. Another for years of him will really help China become a more dominant superpower globally as he diminishes the state's power internationally. I just thought, Jesus, that is as big a damning indictment against the man as you could possibly get. He's everything that's wrong with the world today. IMO. I'll cross my fingers for you all for the election. Good luck. I couldn't vote in 2016 because I didn't send a request for an absentee ballot soon enough, but I was going to vote for Trump because of his plans for the military. I was processing from the army and wanted to make sure they would get what they'd need to win and survive in combat. But after seeing him handle COVID and claim he was not responsible for anything, that really pissed me the fuck off. In the army, I learned as a leader you are responsible for everything your element does or fails to do. From the team leader right up to the chief of staff, the President of the United States is responsible for everything that happens in this country, whether they like it or not. I am not voting for Trump this coming election. Thanks for watching. Share your stories in the comments.